quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just, I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Oh, okay, yeah. And how about we keep the idiocracy to a minimum? I'm one of those people who are prone to stupidity overload from people who think the world revolves around them. So do you mind just, I don't know, squeezing your neck until you pass out so I don't have to hear you again? Thanks.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Oh, God, dude, we can hear your weight problem.
Please do not use gendered language
The hell was that noise? Guy's choking on a milkshake.
To address everyone.
Yeah, how about you stop addressing the drive-through window for once in your life?
You can't see the person speaking, but you could definitely envision who they are. And they say the youth are the future. I think it's fair to say that the future is fudged. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okadowski of WeAreChange.org. Lots of insane, ridiculous news to get into today, unfolding all over the world, but particularly we are going to be focusing on, of course, the story of the decade, the story that many elites and mainstream media figures want to go away, but as long as we still have a voice, we're going to keep reminding you about not just the significance of this huge story of the decade, but also its latest updates, which we're going to be doing in this video. And there's a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, plus a lot more, the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is a short excerpt of Joey B. Toon's latest video, which is linked down in the description below, and where you could continue down the YouTube rabbit hole while we are still allowed to be here. Now, before jumping into our main story, it's also important to remind people that there is an actual crisis unfolding on the U.S.-Mexican border right now that, of course, is creating a lot of human suffering. The Mexican government is not happy. Border states are not happy. As, of course, Joe Biden, during a previous presidential debate, invited people to come to the United States if they needed help. There was a huge rush on the border as soon as Biden became presidency, which he decided to respond with by sending people into cages that were extremely over capacity. And their first actions when this tragedy unfolded was to block lawyers, lawmakers, and the press from even visiting the facilities that were, of course, extremely over capacity and dangerous to many. As of course, there's also been many reports of children getting hurt here in unspeakable ways, which seems to be the overall trend of what the government has been doing for nearly 3 decades. But that goes into our main story in just a little bit. But after the first action by the Biden administration trying to hide this scandal, trying to hide what actually was happening on the border failed, his second attempt right now, according to his own Homeland Security chief, is to implement the policies of his predecessor, as we're finding out that the acting Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is announcing that he is going to be cracking down on illegal immigration. He also announced that he's going to crack down on democratic sanctuary cities that refuse to work with ICE, Immigration's Customs Enforcement. And there's even hints from the Biden administration that they're going to continue to build the wall around the U.S.-Mexican border, as we have this information from Business Insider that details how the Biden administration may soon restart construction on the border, which of course would fill in the gaps left by U.S. President Donald Trump. This of course was the same wall that President Biden pledged to stop the construction of. Now it looks like he might restart the construction. The White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that there's, quote, limited funding that has already been allocated to the construction of more border walls, which, according to some, is needed to stop some of the tragic events that are unfolding on the border, like some small children that are just the ages of 6 and 7 years old. There's multiple reportings of these events of children just literally being abandoned and left to fend for themselves on the U.S.-Mexican border. Now, another action that the Biden administration is taking to deal with this crisis is to make the Vice President Kamala Harris a border czar, which she has been named 2 weeks ago, in order to deal and handle this situation and to help some of those suffering on the border. And she has yet still to even visit the border, which many constituents and concerned citizens are asking her to do so she could see the full scale of exactly what's happening here, since, she's the border czar. She's the border czar. She's supposed to deal with this situation, and for the last 14 days since she was the border czar, she visited a bakery, a water plant, her Los Angeles home, but never the border. This is also, of course, the same lady that laughs when presented with some of the tragic circumstances that are unfolding on the border.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today.
All of this while, of course, the Biden administration surrounds themselves with thousands of National Guard troops to protect them against some kind of imaginary threat. And of course, all is not like it seems, as many of Biden's promises are falling to the wayside, including the ones that he made about the wall, the ones he made about immigration, the ones he also made about police, as we're also finding out that Biden is already surpassing his predecessor on the flow of military weapons to police officers in local jurisdictions in the United States. And in related news of things not being what they seem, Caitlyn Jenner is also reportedly actively exploring running to be governor of California, and I think that is absolutely perfect. But yeah, just as another friendly reminder, a lot of things are not what they seem. When a politician says something, when a celebrity releases some kind of photo, when powerful billionaire multinational corporations and individuals say that they care about the small person, when those things happen, you could almost certainly bet your bottom dollar that those things are absolutely filled with crap. And the sooner you realize that, the better. We here, as independent media with WeAreChange.org, are here to remind you of that. And if you appreciate that reminder and the work that we do here almost every single day, don't forget to support us on WeAreChange.org/donate. The link is down in the description below. Click on it right now because there's many ways where you could support us, even ways without spending a single dime. Cryptocurrencies, checking out some of the products and companies we work with, physical mail, you name it. We got it. We even have our own members area under LukeUncensored.com. For personal reasons, I wasn't able to release a video yesterday, but I will be releasing a video today on LukeUncensored.com on some really interesting information regarding Bill Gates and some important complications about a procedure that we cannot discuss here on this platform. All of that will be discussed on LukeUncensored.com. 50 cents a day keeps an independent journalist alive and well, eating good too, and thank you so much for signing up. Now, jumping into our main topic. Now, as we're talking right now, there's an ongoing federal criminal court case against Miss Ghislaine Maxwell, an associate, a person close to, some would say even above Mr. Epstein when it comes to the story of the decade. The story of how the federal government, along with local cops, judges, prosecutors, high-level politicians, celebrities, tech tycoons, individuals like Bill Gates were connected to that for over 30 years were in one way or another a part or complicit of an international extortion and trafficking operation that included children. 30 years the federal government, including the FBI, sat on their hands from witnesses that came to them in the 90s. And when we look at the Ghislaine Maxwell case, her initial charges stemmed from these original complaints that came from the 1990s, well before Ghislaine Maxwell was, of course, connected to the Clintons. This was one reason why many people have seen this larger criminal court case as a containment operation. Recently, there were new charges surrounding a 14-year-old, but today we got the bombshell news that in this case, the federal prosecutors have disclosed 2.7 million pages of evidence to Ghislaine Maxwell and her lawyers in this larger court case. 2.7 million pages. That is a lot of evidence that, of course, will most likely postpone this trial, which is supposed to begin in July. Obviously, we are paying very close attention to this entire court proceeding since there's a lot that hinges on it, and there's a lot of powerful people connected to this story. We also know that the FBI has collected photos and video proof of powerful individuals with their names on those tapes that were found in Jeffrey Epstein's vault that we have still not known about. Are these videos, are these photos a part of this 2.7 million page criminal complaint against Maxwell? Well, for right now, we do not know. As some people are saying that this huge release could be a way of trying to obfuscate some prominent individuals who are trying to hide their connections to individuals like Miss Ghislaine Maxwell. And now looking through 2.7 million pages of documents is going to be extremely difficult, and according to some who are trying to connect the dots, looking for a needle in a haystack. So is this a part of a larger obfuscation effort, or is this just the 30 plus years that the federal government was watching, knowing, and deciding to sit back as thousands of children were hurt in unspeakable ways? Is this just the documentation from those 30 years? Well, to be quite honest with you, we still don't know. What do you think? Some people are making assumptions, but there is still no smoking gun. There is still no direct evidence, which concludes one particular explanation here, honestly speaking. Now, of course, it's also important to note here that Maxwell is denying the original allegations against her. Many people are expecting her to enter a plea deal, which of course would stop the court proceeding from going through, stopping a lot of the discovery, stopping a lot of the information that people deserve to know from coming out. Nonetheless, I do believe it is best to be skeptical in this case, since of course the federal government has obfuscated, has lied, and has been complicit in many instances with the hurting of thousands of children in this particular case. And until there's actually some justice, because as of right now, all of the victims here have never seen any justice, there's no point to trust a government who committed such horrendous actions with, of course, your tax dollars. This could also be an attempt by the prosecutors to gain more time, since, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell and her legal defense team won't have time to go through 2.7 million pages of evidence presented against her in just the span of a few weeks when the trial is supposed to begin. Again, it's very important to keep our eye on the ball here, to keep talking about this story, to keep talking about the details, since there are a lot of rich, powerful people that are implicated here that have still yet to face any legitimate questions surrounding their very shady dealings with Mr. Epstein. Top of the line is, of course, Mr. Bill Gates, who's trying to present himself as some kind of ruler and medical doctor, when, of course, he is not. Now, we are getting some details from the federal government, but again, they're just punitive, irrelevant details that don't really paint a bigger picture of what was going on here. They're just focusing on the trivial tabloid nonsense, like we're seeing from the latest revelations that Ghislaine Maxwell's cell is very dirty. Again, who cares? She has a messy cell. She doesn't flush her toilet. Who cares? She recently got the shot. Who cares? All, of course, mainstream media tabloids, as individuals like Prince Andrew and a lot of his buddies, well, they're still seen as high royalty by some, of course, essentially getting away with unspeakable actions. As we're also learning today that a man accused of unspeakable things also was connected to the royal family and Prince Andrew himself, who most likely shared a common interest in doing unspeakable things to children. There's a lot of people, by the way, connected to the royal family doing some of these unspeakable things that we can't even mention here on YouTube, including the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Edward Heath. And if there ever was a face of the word that we can't describe here on YouTube, this would be it. Second to that, of course, would be Jimmy Savile, a BBC broadcaster and personality that was protected by the UK mainstream media along with the royal family when he did gruesome, horrible things to children and bodies that were dead that we can't even describe here. Now, as some people try to obfuscate this case by talking about trivial issues like not flushing a toilet, let's remember that there are still details surrounding this case that were censored from the general public because they were too shocking. They were too, quote, sensational and impure for the public to even understand. The judge ruling in this case blocked significant amount of information that would have shocked you, as if already this story was not shocking enough. Pay attention to the details. Keep reminding people about this story. Keep memeing this story because the people are the only ones really keeping this story alive. There's a lot of powerful people trying to make this story go away, trying to obfuscate it, trying to make you talk about trivial issues. Don't fall from it. Don't fall for the trap. Keep focusing on the individuals that actually matter here. Keep asking questions. Keep demanding answers, and keep sharing this information. Share this video with your friends and family members. Double-click the URL link. Send it to your friends and family members so this story stays alive. Remember, this whole story would have been forgotten if it wasn't for the internet, if it wasn't for the hashtag, if it wasn't for the memes keeping it alive. And even if you don't want to share my videos, that's okay too. Get an article that I presented in this video. Just type in the title into any search engine, preferably one that is an alternative to big tech. Get the article, share it with your friends and family members, start the discussion. Don't let this die. There's a reason why I'm still talking about this very important story, because it deserves more coverage, especially for all the victims involved and all the powerful people that got away with it. That's my particular take on it. If you think I'm wrong in any way, shape, or form, share this video with your friends and family members. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.